Hey everybody, how you doing out there? Good to see you. Going to be talking about the Silva method today. A gentleman in Texas happened to accidentally develop a method to increase psychic abilities and clairvoyance in a person by trying to get his daughter's grades up. It's a fascinating story. Go ahead and check it out. And modern science, the Western scientific mindset, they're totally in the dark about how this might be the case, and it's very unusual, of course, but it's been studied to a great deal. And so we're just going to talk about why this works and what's happening, the nuts and bolts of it, essentially. Today's word of the day is piezoelectricity. It's our teeth as well as our pineal gland are piezoelectric, which means under certain temperatures and pressures and other types of stimulus like magnetic waves, electromagnetic waves, several different types of energy can stimulate this material in our teeth and in our pineal gland in our brain, as well as the magnetite crystals in our brain, and cause different things to happen that we're about to go into today together. So I typed in pineal gland piezoelectric crystalline transducer. Sounds like a lot, but really it's a two-way microphone / radio / computer processor, you could say. And I'm just gonna scroll down here, check out all of this stuff. There's a lot of medical research, and let's just type in the word transducer. What does that mean? A device that converts variations in a physical quantity, such as pressure or brightness or more others, into an electrical signal or vice versa. See what I mean about the two-way communication? So we essentially, our pineal gland, working in conjunction with the magnetite crystals in our brain, essentially send and receive information wirelessly, quote unquote, telepathically, quote unquote. And of course, this idea is nothing new. The yoga mindset for more than 10,000 years has been aware of this term called the siddhis. There's quite a number of them, one of them being clairvoyance. So in the Silva method, let's see here, it's a self-help meditation program. Through relaxation, you can attain psychic abilities such as clairvoyance. It's having to do with the different theta wave states in the brain, depending on what technique you're employing. And so, yeah, the Western mindset is puzzled by clairvoyance and this type of thing. They call it, pseudoscience, but really it's just science that is new to them. And part of the reason why this happens is the brain has magnetite crystals in varying concentrations depending on how they interact with our brain, which is a crystalline transducer itself. And the brain pretty much facilitates the singular mechanism of giving energy to the pineal gland, which is the antenna and the receiver, you could think of it. But not only that, this gland in our brain, the pineal gland, functions in more of an array. Nobody ever talks about that. It's an array, an antenna array when we are with other humans. And because of this magnetite concentration, it's constantly reading, and then as well as the piezoelectric crystalline transducer in conjunction with our brains are reading a various types of electric, as well as other particles, so-called particles, and other waveforms, other energies. People call it different names like higher dimensions, things like this, but they're all essentially different frequencies that our brain, because of this magnetite lattice, can detect. And humans call that, oh, you have good luck, or serendipity or coincidence, this kind of thing. But really, our brain is made to detect these slight variations in the magnetic field and the electromagnetic field, of various types of fields, not just electromagnetic and magnetic. And essentially, what we talked about in my previous video, how the electromagnetic frequency pollution can interfere with our body's not only abilities, but its normal biological processes. Part of the reason is because of this electrical component that we went over in the video, and how that electrical component interferes and interacts with the magnetite crystal lattice in our brain. So without this electrical component, and arguably some of the magnetic component from the devices must interact with these magnetite crystals in our brain. So without any of this artificial technology, our brain and the brain of animals, and as well as plants, their mini brains and their cellular network, they're all made to interact, detect, transmit back to, receive information from the universe, nature, whatever you want to call it. And so when we don't have this artificial technology spewing out all this electrical waves or magnetic waves, our brains naturally function as clairvoyant, or like a hypersensitive intuition, you could say. You know, our hairs rise up when we get a funny feeling or something like this, and essentially the magnetite crystal lattice in our brain is very sensitive to the information in the magnetic field that is occurring around us at all times. And getting back to the Wi-Fi router, that's exactly why we see these different things in the medical literature about how it can affect the brain, because of this crystal lattice. And so when the cell phone is transmitting information to the router or vice versa, it's using these magnetic carrier waves. As we proved in the last video, the electrical component does not really play a role in the actual function of the device. And I posed the question in that video, why is the electrical component there then, if that's the case? But getting back to the topic of today's video, the Wi-Fi and the cell phone essentially communicate back and forth via these magnetic waves. And because of the magnetic microcrystalline magnetite lattice in our brain, it's essentially doing the exact same thing. It both sends and receives information, you could say, to the magnetic field of the earth, from the magnetic field of the earth to the magnetic heart fields of the humans who you live with, or from them, or to the animals that you live around and amongst, or from them, right? This is exactly what the technology is based upon. They won't tell you this, of course, but it's because our own brain is a microcrystalline transducer. And so the way that our brain works naturally, we should all have these siddhis, right? It's like, oh, if you do meditation for 30 years, you'll attain these siddhis. This is what these guys have been talking about for 10,000 years. But it's not true. You can get there today, right now, this very instant. And the reason why people are not is because we're in this magnetic soup. And it's throwing off the magnetite crystals in our brain, in our eyes, in our pineal gland, all kinds of stuff like this, even in the magnetic fields of our heart, our stomach, even our atoms. And so that's why, I developed the EMF protection and absorption material, as well as the video last time, and this jewelry that I promote to, save your brain from being bombarded by all this stuff. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. The Life Products Direct on the Etsy, or check out my website if you have any questions. Hope you like this video, guys. There's a lot of science today. Thanks for bearing with me. All right, see ya.